So hey guys, welcome to my review of Teen Titans issue number 8. In the last issue of Teen Titans, what generally happened in that issue was the Teen Titans infiltrated n.o.w.h.e.r.e to try to rescue Superboy, and they actually succeeded in trying to rescue him. But what happens is, before they, escape, they are actually confronted by the leader and creator of n.o.w.h.e.r.e, and his name was Harvest. And now the Teen Titans have to fight their way through Harvest in order to escape n.o.w.h.e.r.e. Will they do it? We'll find out in this issue. Now, I have to mention, before I do the review, that if you guys have been reading the Superboy comics, then I would suggest, if you're watching this review right now, to pick up Teen Titans issue number 8, because all the questions you had in Superboy issue number 8, you are going to have to read, Teen Titans issue number 8 in order to connect every single thing together, because Superboy and Teen Titans are basically tied in together in a way. So some characters that did appear in Superboy issue number 8, and some of the questions you have for those characters that appeared in there are actually answered in here. So we actually opened up with Tim Drake, or Red Robin. Now, for some reason, he's transforming into this sort of bird because he's growing talons and feathers. And then in the next page, we're actually introduced to Omen, who actually appeared in Superboy issue number 8. She made her first appearance in that issue. Now, she only made like maybe a small appearance, not like a whole big appearance. But if you guys are wondering who Omen was in Superboy issue number 8, your question is going to be answered in this issue. So we learned that Omen's a metahuman, and she works for n.o.w.h.e.r.e, and she has the ability to sort of recreate your own image, but with your own fears. So basically, in a way, she's using your own fears against you. Now, what's interesting here is that she creates this womb, right? And then you're trapped in there. So when you're inside her womb, she's able to manipulate your mind and transform you into like whatever you fear the most. And the other interesting thing here is that she actually extracts information from you. You know how, like she says, she's using your greatest fear against you. That means you're hiding a secret from everybody. So she's trying to reveal that secret from you and learn more about you, which is interesting. So she works, her way with, Red Robin first, then she works her way around all the other Teen Titans. After Red Robin, she throws him out of the womb, or she's done with him. And then basically now she moves on to her next target, who is Wonder Girl. Now this is interesting here. Now we get some more backstory for Wonder Girl. So as she traps Wonder Girl in her womb, or into her bubble, her greatest fear starts coming out. And her greatest fear is that her armor starts to form more. She starts growing a tiara, and the armor starts to consume her body, like almost all of her body. And we learned that basically, her greatest fear was that she was afraid that she's going to lose control of the armor, and the armor would control her. And also, in the last issue, they stated that, when she used her lasso, or n.o.w.h.e.r.e, basically it would suck the life force out of somebody if it touched them. And what's interesting thing here is that when she uses her armor, it also sucks the life force out of her. And she used her bracelet or her armor to save a friend, and, Omen asked her, was it worth it? So now we generally have a little bit more backstory from Wonder Girl, and I'm very excited because I know I've seen the previews for the next couple of issues, and we'll get a backstory for Wonder Girl actually. So I'm very looking forward to that. But after Omen's done with Wonder Girl, of course, she throws Wonder Girl out. It's time to move on to the next Teen Titans. And the only Teen Titans that are left are Skitter, Bunker, Solstice, and Kid Flash. But after, she works on to the next Teen Titan, we open up with, Robin. Red Robin's, strapped down to a table in some kind of laboratory, observatory, or something like that. And then in the shadows, someone slowly creeps out of the shadows, and none other than it's Harvest. Harvest starts talking to, Red Robin, saying that, you're just exactly like me. Me and you, we're both alike. But it's too bad, you don't work for me, and, you don't agree with what I want to do, or my plans or ideas. It's just too bad, but you will bow down to me. I will control you, and you will work for me. So, and once he says that, you see this chest plate slowly creeping down on Red Robin, and the chest plate looks exactly almost the same type of suit that Superboy wears. It doesn't have the S on it, but the scheme is like of the suit looks exactly like Superboy's. As you can see already in the front cover, everybody has this light up suits or Tron look-alike suits on. And yeah, and after that, now it's Skitter's turn. Now Omen works her way with Skitter. Now, Skitter's greatest fear is being separated from, her insect form. So when she separates her from the insect form, she starts telling Omen, you're making a big mistake. If you separate us two, you can cause the end of the world. You will doom us all. Question mark here. How can her character create or spell doom for the whole entire human race? Kind of interesting here. And then she tells Omen, you must put us back together. And that's a little bit fact or information we get about Skitter. Then, Omen's done with Skitter, throws her out, and then we see Solstice and Bunker start, arguing as Omen starts to work her way with Kid Flash. Now, what we learn here about Solstice and Bunker is that Solstice wasn't nowhere before. We knew that she was in the facility before a long time ago when we first saw her appear in the issues. She was at the facility with Kid Flash and Bunker before. Not with Bunker, never mind. Not Bunker, but the other metahuman that appeared in the last issue of Teen Titans, named Danny. But, she knows about Omen. She knows her abilities, but yet she wasn't able to warn the other Titans. And this sort of upsets Bunker. But then Solstice has a sort of excuse for it. She says that no matter what she wanted to do for, the Teen Titans, she wanted to tell them about Omen. She wanted to tell them about N.o.w.h.e.r.e, but she couldn't because in her mind, Harvest was stuck in there, was always there in her mind. No matter where she went, she would see him. And even when she wasn't even thinking of him, he was there. So she said, I couldn't betray him. I don't know why, but I just couldn't betray him. And I'm sorry. And Bunker, understands this. Now Omen's working her way with Kid Flash. Now, what's interesting is, the interesting thing here is that she finds out that Kid Flash's mind is actually has walls or like this tapestry around his brain. So she's trying to pick at his brain, but it doesn't work. And she gets struck by some lightning or some of his speed force or whatever. And she's like, interesting, and she says, okay, maybe we should strip away your suit so your mind wouldn't be so, blocked out for me. So, in the end, what happens is that Kid Flash strikes her with another bolt of, energy, and basically he tries to escape with Bunker and, not Skitter, but Solstice. And they try to escape, but when they are about to escape, when they think they're about to escape, they're actually confronted by a whole army of soldiers that work for N.o.w.h.e.r.e. And basically they fire at Kid Flash and Bunker and Solstice. Bunker gets hit in the chest. Solstice gets hit in the forehead. And they both go down. And afterwards, Wonder Girl wakes up with, Kid Flash and everybody else, and she tries to rescue them. And what ends up happening is that Red Robin, left to try to save everybody, to try to take out Omen, while she's still working her way with the other, Titans. Her last one she's working on is actually Bunker. And, Robin slashes Omen, and he wakes up. But he's strapped down on a table, and they said, you never left the table. You were still here. And later on, we're introduced to Leash, who was mentioned in Superboy issue number 8. And they actually teleport them to the Culling, or the colony. And that's how this issue ends. Now, there was a little bit side story, just a little snippet of one page of Amanda Waller talking to this secret agent named Agent Lance, and she needs his help to take out the Ravengers, and that's about it. That's all we learn in this issue. Now, a lot of things happen in this issue. A lot of leaked information here. We learn more about, Bart Allen. We learn more about Wonder Girl, Cassie Sandmark. We learn more about Skitter. We even learn Omen's name is named Lilith, because Skitter actually calls her Lilith. And I don't think her name was ever mentioned in this issue whatsoever, but Lilith. And it's just great, because in the last issue I said, I love it when we don't know much about these characters. We were just establishing their characters as building them up as a team in the last couple of issues. And now that they're a team, now they can actually give them an origin story, a backstory now, because we can basically mainly focus on one character because the whole group is here. You already, introduce them to to the new readers, and now we can get backstory for them. And that's interesting that we're getting slowly snippets of, every single character that we have questions of who this person is, because generally speaking, you already know who Kid Flash is. You already know sort of, Bart Allen's backstory, that he is from some distant place, If you've ever read, any of the Flash comics or Kid Flash comics, you know who he is. And it's just interesting, you know, it's just interesting to, you know, get backstory, and I found this issue was really great. Now, the artwork in here is actually different from the original artwork from the Teen Titans issue, because in a way, it was okay. I think the artwork was okay. It wasn't that bad, but at times I did have a minor gripe with the faces and whatnot. But that's about it. Generally, the storyline in this issue was pretty interesting, pretty good. I think readers who have questions about a lot about, you know, what happened in Superboy issue number 8 will find this enjoyable, and also learning more about these characters. I think they will enjoy that also. And also, we're getting up to another bigger event, because as we saw, Superboy was teleported or taken to the colony in the last issue of Superboy number 8, and now the Teen Titans are teleported to the colony. And actually, on the top of this cover, it says the same thing as, you know, Superboy, the Calling Prelude. So we're actually getting to the point where there's a big event happening, sort of like the n.o.w.h.e.r.e series that's going on. Not series, but the event that's going on for the Batman comic books. We're having a big event that's coming up. A lot of things are actually happening with this comic, Green Lantern, and Batman. There's a lot of things that are going on, because there's just so many events, and I like that. You know, it's just going to be something that's going to be big, and this is actually building up. And I would like to see what's really going on here, you know? And I know some of you guys gave me information that the calling is basically you're put into an arena and you're supposed to fight to the battle of the death. Which is interesting, because they actually sort of mentioned that a bit in this issue, in a way. But yeah, that's about it. And yeah, I think this issue was good. I think you guys will find it enjoyable. Also, to mention that if you guys have been reading Teen Titans, or you picked up Teen Titans issue number 1, this issue, this cover art right here, looks exactly the same as issue number 1's cover art, except for minor differences, but it's almost exactly the same. Because finally, you can actually say the team is actually together, as in now Superboy is going to be joining them, because Superboy is actually in the colony also. So that's going to be wonderful to actually see what's going to happen next, and I hope you found this, you know, review enjoyable, and yeah, I'll see you guys later.